Cleared out a little space under the car, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the Sawzall, I'm going to get in and cut up this exhaust system. Now I'm going to try to save the pipes, so I'm going to cut the exhaust off back at the muffler, about where that clamp is, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to try to save the pipes and the tailpipes. Now, I don't know how good they are, and I may end up replacing them, but for now, I'm just going to trash the mufflers and try to save the pipes. One thing about the exhaust is right now I'm using factory cast iron manifolds, but in the future, I do have a set of Thornton stainless steel shorty headers, and they're an exact manifold replacement. So I unbolt the cast iron manifolds, I bolt up the Thornton shorty headers, and so I want to retain the exhaust head pipes because they're going to bolt right up to the Thornton headers. So I'd like to try to save these pipes if I can. Well, the mufflers look like they're brand new, but they're going to be scrapped. I had to cut them off right up against the muffler body using a Sawzall because I wanted to keep as much length of the pipes as possible. I'll get the tailpipes out after I remove the wheels and the rear suspension, shocks and springs, control arms, and then be no problem getting the tailpipes out. The next thing I need to do is I need to make a cradle to prop the back of the engine up. I need to use this tray and this jack on the back of the car, and I just don't want the engine to be hanging on the motor mounts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cradle for the back to prop this up. This is a rough sketch of what I want my cradle to look like. Now, this will be the cross piece. I think that is 2-inch square tube. 1.5-inch square tubing. And then the rest of it will be 1-inch square tubing. And I have this square tubing left over from my fence project. Alright, so this is the base of my cradle. And I have these two legs on here that should allow the jacking plate to slide underneath. So I've got my legs welded on. So I'm going to take this piece, put it on the lift, and then measure for the uprights. I have the cradle welded up, and I have the mounting holes drilled. So now I'm going to get under the car and see if it fits. Well, I have the cradle installed, and it works like it should. So now I can get this jacking tray out, and I can get that to the back of the car where I need it. And I have the engine held up so it's not hanging on the motor mounts. Today's mission is to get the rear suspension out. You know, now that I have the cradle for the engine, I have my jacking tray back here, and I also have this wooden platform here that I built for the Trans Am that I'll use to support the front of the rear end. And I'm going to work on getting the rear suspension out of the car. I'll reuse the BMR rear springs. I have the rear control arms out. I will not reuse those, although I'll keep them, since the Rallye 350 had the box control arms. I'm certainly going to keep these. I have the tailpipes out, and I would like to reuse these. So I'll just see how that goes. They're going to need a little bit of work. You can see where they were cobbled up here. So I'll have to do some welding on them, but if the pipes are generally in good shape, then I'm going to want to reuse them. And I have the rear wheels off. And I'll put these away. I'm going to put them in my train room. Just get them out of the way so I don't have to stumble over them. All right, well, I got to get the shocks out yet. The rear end is not coming out from underneath the car. It is too heavy for me to handle by myself. So I'll work around it. The original control arms and the original sway bar are not going back in the car. So I'm not going to spend time cleaning them up. I'll put them in a box, and when I sell the car sometime down the road, the next owner can have them. And my scrap pile is growing. Got these old blue Monroe shocks. It certainly takes me back, but I won't be reusing those. I have a set of 1-inch shorter Beltex that are going to go in the car. So all this stuff here is all going to be scrapped. It is time to remove the fuel tank. So I have a lead here. I should have a ground strap in the front. I have fuel line to disconnect. And then, I'll take these two bolts out. And then I have the tensioning bolts in the front where the straps are. So there's not a lot to getting it out. My biggest apprehension with this is I don't know how much fuel's in the tank. I think I tried to siphon out most of it, but there's probably some still in there, because I know I left some in there so I could start the engine and move the car around before I put it up here and got started on this. And a continuing theme with me is I'm 67 years old, and when I was young, it wouldn't matter if the tank was empty or full. But now, it's a little bit unwieldy, and the weight makes a difference. So just have to see how it goes. But it's coming out one way or the other, whether I gently pull it out and set it down or whether it comes crashing down. Well, I've decided to play it safe, and I'm siphoning the remaining fuel out of the tank. I'm just worried that the tank is too heavy for me to handle. So I'll be moving it into these gas cans. I can't get the tank down through the lift rails right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get the tank out through the side here. And I clipped the sender wire because I couldn't handle the tank one-handed and reach up underneath this pad and unplug the wire. And, I'm just concerned about getting injured, so that's what I decided to do. Well, I have the tank out, and there's still probably 1/8 of a tank of gas in there, so that weight keeps shifting around. As I move the tank, it shifts the weight around, makes it even more difficult to move it and maneuver it, but it's out now. And in case you were wondering, there's no build sheet. And I got the sender wire off the sender. So I have that right here. And now I'm at the point where I should have access to most of the bottom of the car. Now there's still some things that are going to have to be moved around. The parking brake cables will have to be coming out, and other various things, but I think I have the big stuff out from under the car. Well, in this video here, I think I'm at the point now where I can start cleaning. I have all the major components removed. And I think I'm going to start up front and then work my way back. So I think I'll start at the firewall and then move back towards the rear bumper. So the next part of this job is not going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of cleaning, and cleaning underneath the car is not especially a good time. But it needs to be done. So dig in and do it. Thanks again for watching.